Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be watching a game from 2006 and giving some commentary on it. It's going to be a Dragtrode versus MetaNite matchup from the 2006 format. I took this video from Evan Cole's YouTube channel. I'll make sure to link the description down below, but I'm making this video. He's given me permission in the past to watch his videos and do commentary on them. So we're working in partnership with Evan on this. The other thing I want to say is this video is, I don't know if I want to say for educational purposes, for entertainment purposes, but it's 10 times easier to sit there, watch a game, and give commentary on it than it is to actually sit there and play the game itself. So sometimes I'll make a comment about a play or say, man, maybe I would have played that a little bit differently, or maybe he should be thinking about this or that. But that's so much easier to do just sitting here watching the game from an outside perspective, especially when we have more information than maybe the player did at the time. So any sort of comment like that isn't meant to be a negative towards the player, rather just a discussion purpose on the game. So going into this Dragtrode versus MetaNite, I'm going to say I think this matchup is relatively close, but generally speaking, if the MetaNite player is going to set up, I think it's going to favor the MetaNite player. Dragtrode, their main damage source is going to be those Rocket Sneasel EXs, and that's something that a MetaNite player can really take advantage of. They only need to discard 3 energy to be able to knock out a Rocket Sneasel EX. That's pretty manageable. And from the Dragtrode side of the game, they're going to really try to disrupt those Dragonites, try to take those out early, make sure that the opponent really doesn't have that energy acceleration, maybe try to catch the opponent off of a late game admin, and just try to overwhelm them before they set up. But let's go ahead and jump into the game. I have not watched this video yet, so I'm not entirely sure which variations of the decks they are playing. Let me go ahead and just turn the volume down on that. We did go ahead and put the speed at 1.5 here. So I don't know. Obviously, the Dragtrode player has 4 basics set already. This is, in my opinion, I don't like to do this because Roselia is pretty commonly played. There's really not a whole lot that punishes you for holding the basics, and I guess the MetaNite player did the same thing. So I usually prefer to just hold them. I don't think double setting is good in this format. And you're also telegraphing a little bit more than you need to. All right, so Jirachi start, double Beldum. Pretty strong start from the MetaNite player. And even in this drag off, he might, if he's able to go first, he's going to be able just to drag off. Yeah, benching the 2 Beldum might actually come back to punish him. It looks like the Dragtrode player doesn't open with the dark energy, though, so they are going to have to burn an R energy for it. Probably still worth it, but not what they wanted to do. All right, going for the second one. I think that was a 1. Choosing a better dice. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. This looks to be the Japanese top 4 list. And I think there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can either do the Holin's Castform variation, or you can do the Metallic Call variation. It looks like he's playing the Metallic Call variation. This seems to be the favored version of the deck. Coming to Jirachi. I don't know how I feel about this. I think deck thinning, there's an argument for deck thinning, and I also think you can make an argument for just the consistency of it. But some matchups you need to be really careful you're not giving your opponent multiple prizes. Free prizes, but I don't think Dragtrode's really going to be able to take advantage of that. If they're trying to pick off Jirachis, you did something wrong. Okay, so throws down the Desert Ruins. This is another debate. The first argument is you want to get the stadium out of your hand. The second argument is you know your opponent probably plays 4 copies of Hole in Ruins, and you don't want to give that to him. So you want to hold the Desert Ruins to bump the opponent's stadiums. Generally, I think in this matchup, you're going to want to hold the Desert Ruins. I don't think it's worth throwing it down immediately, but it's not a huge. You can make some arguments for both ways on this. As the Dragtrode player, I would probably be a little. I wouldn't say concerned, but I would definitely keep Rayquaza Star in mind. It's probably not going to come from this variation, but it's something that I would have in the back of my head. Yeah, I do really like trying to set up double Dark Electrodes in this matchup. It's not as useful as it is in some other matchups, but it can be very, very, very strong. So what are we going to be doing here? All right, that's a little bit unusual. Generally, they prefer the free retreat Metatang. I see the Dragtrode player miss the energy again. That is so unfortunate. They're going to need a really, really good third turn to come out of this. Yeah, so generally you're going to see the free retreat Metatang. And generally that is going to be better. Yeah, you do have the Dragonite, but... Alright, so they're going for the Dratini, and I think they have a little bit bench locked themselves here. They're going to have a hard time getting multiple Dragonites in play. You usually want to have at least 2 Dratini, and then you can go like 2 Dratini, 3 Metagross, but... Yeah, I don't know how this is going to play out. Go ahead and pass. Yeah, you don't really need to do anything. You're going... you're setting up. You don't really need to force anything. Also, can we take a minute and just appreciate how absolutely amazing the reverse hollows are for some of those early sets? Okay, burning 2 energies, that's going to be rough. That's going to hurt. But setting themselves up for a pretty strong third turn of the game. I don't know. I feel like the Dragtrode player, I think they just got such a rough start to this game. I think if they would have had that first turn energy and would have been able to just kind of easily transition into it, I think they would have been transitioned into their setup. I think they would have been fine. But this slow of a start, I don't know if you can afford to do that against MetaNite. All right, and then we see the Stadium Wars happen. I do see the Jirachi find the rare candy. The one thing that always made me nervous about playing this deck in a tournament is with Metagross, you got to put them on the bottom. They don't get shuffled in. And I was always terrified I was going to get a game loss for shuffling them in. But Jirachi does get shuffled. Alright, so we're going to place that rare candy either to a Metagross or a Dragonite. I think either is fine. Yeah, double Metagross is fine. Once you have the 2 Metagross, you're just going to get your setup from there. Going to see the Delta Control. Yep, first one goes down. I grab the candy. Yep. The order you put them in probably won't matter, but it is something you want to be conscientious of. Yeah, so he's looking to go off. If he doesn't go off this turn, he's looking to go off next turn. Yep. The only thing I would really want to be cautious of is that those warp points and switches could be very needed later on in the game. I'm not sure what he's doing there. Colin Ruins is draw 1, discard 1. Oh, yeah, I don't know what was going on there. I think that might have just been a misunderstanding. And I think you draw first. Okay, I'm not sure what this is. If you're not actually able to attack, I'm not sure I'm fully behind the warp point here. Okay, brings up the Voltorb. Feels he has free retreat. Okay. Find him to say probably the Metal Energy. Yeah. Yeah, I think the top 4 list plays 1 switch, 1 warp point. So I would be very, very careful playing those. I personally would have a very hard time burning them. But he probably feels like he's like, hey, I'm just setting up at a consistent rate. I'm not going to deck out from anything. I've got plenty of energy. I'm fine. All right. Yeah, so he knows he shouldn't be able to get knocked out next turn, so he's feeling relatively safe here. Once again, I think that might be a reverse holo Dark Dragonite. Those cards are absolutely beautiful. All right, so the Jirachi's probably going to go down this turn. He knows the Dark Dragonite's probably safe. Yeah, moving him around. It's a minor thing, but you really do want to be careful what you're putting your rainbow energies on. I think usually putting them on the Voltorbs is going to be better for you. Yeah, you can do that. I think he also would have been fine there to bring up the Metagross and maybe try to get a couple of free prizes off something on the bench there while he's still setting up. I don't know. This is probably the safer play. I probably shouldn't. Probably shouldn't disagree with him on that. All right. So he's not feeling any pressure. He's just building up his energy here. All right. I believe that Jirachi should be asleep too. Unless I'm off. I think he wishing starred. Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. I guess he's wishing starting now. Yeah, he's probably gonna take the switch. I think he needs one more though, doesn't he? Goes for reversal flip, misses it. So I think, yep. Does he have... I was thinking he was going to be one short here. Maybe I did the math wrong somewhere. Because if he can burn and knock out that Dark Dragonite right now, I think he definitely should. But I was thinking he was one off somewhere, unless I made a pretty big mistake. It would concern me a little bit that I burned my switch in Warp Point, but he's got so much control over this game, he might just not be worried about it. So we got the drag off on the Dragonite. This is what he wanted to do. Well, to be honest with you, at the start of the game. Personally, I would probably... Yeah, I would be making sure that I have my bench set up. Like, I think he's perfectly fine to, like, try to agility here or something. Like, I would definitely keep the Lightning if I didn't already have one. Yeah, I don't know if I like that Rockets admin. I mean, it's not... Obviously, it's a good card to have. I'm not sure what we're reversaling. Yeah, I think you're perfectly fine just to agility there. I think you superconductivity onto the Dragonite, you attach a lightning energy, and then you use Dragonite to put a lightning energy under the bench Metagross. I think you just I don't think you're in any rush to do anything crazy here. I think you can just play the long game. You're already ahead. As long as you set up, you should win. All right, another Dratini. That was a good start. Probably take the Dragonite. I didn't catch that. I think it was the Dragonite, though. You know, discarding the Metatank. That's fine. I think we saw 2 Retrievers in the deck. Totally fine. Attaches a Lightning. Yep, totally fine. Does a superconductivity. Yep. And then you're going to want to make sure to, use the Dragonite. Get something under that Metagross. Yeah, I think from this point you're fine. That 30 damage could actually be impactful. Especially if you retreat next turn. So it goes agility. The Dragonite gets knocked out. It's fine. You're going to turn around and knock out the Rocket Sneasel. you're just going to be way ahead in the prize trade. You just got to make sure those Dragonites keep coming in. All right, gets the Dark Electrode. Double Dark Electrode. I think this is something, obviously from a power standpoint, it's very strong to have the double Dark Electrodes, but I think the other thing that people don't always realize is your deck thinning. And you're getting those cards out of your deck. And if you're going to thin, I think in total it's 8 cards, 4 dark, 4 dark metal energies. If you're thinning your deck by 8 cards, that can be absolutely huge in the later stages of the game. Now, the only problem that I'm seeing from the Dragonite player is they lock themselves out of Dratini. And I think that is going to be, I think that can be a major issue. All right, so he goes ahead. Yep, I think that's all right. I actually think you value that Metagross higher than you value the Dragonite. So personally here, I think he needs to attach that lightning energy to the Metagross because I think he has to retreat out of this in agility. Okay. Sure. The 2 Dragonites in play, I think, are strong. Yep, so he actually ends up hitting it, but he can actually, I think, retreat and do a heavy impact here, which is even stronger for him, is he'll get the Dragonite knockout, preserve the Metagross, and still have a decent number of energy in play. So this is like best case scenario for him. And you just see all those reversals all over the place. I think you do need to think a little bit on those reversals. I think just because you have it doesn't mean you just instantly slam them down. And there's been a couple of reversals I think he's played so far where it was like, I'm not sure I would have valued them maybe as highly as he has. No, you just heavy impact here. Why not just knock it out? Why not just knock it out? Yeah, that's a little unusual to me. I don't know why you wouldn't just take the knockout there. Okay, you see the stadium come back down. Awesome. That's really what you're looking for. It's just the fact that he's not going to be able to play a Dratini down until the Rocket Sneasel EX gets knocked out. And by the time, before Dratini comes down, the opponent's going to be at 3 prizes. And that means before you can get a Dark Dragonite in play, they're going to have 2 more turns. So I think you're just in a really rough spot with that. All right. All right. So he's trying to keep it safe on the bench. I don't necessarily think that's a bad play, but I do think that this is another reason why you should have just taken the knockout, just used heavy impact. I don't think there's a whole lot of incentive not to. I don't even know what you bring out. Probably just the other Dragonite. The Metagross? Yeah, no, that's probably best. Yep. And I don't think there's really anything you do different here. There's a lot more energy than I remember in the deck. But yeah, I don't think you do anything different. I don't think you do anything crazy. I think you just retreat it back. Your opponent's hitting you for 10 damage a turn and causing you to switch out of the active spot. So essentially they're doing 10 damage and costing you an energy out of hand. I don't think you really care too much. Honestly, I don't think you do. I don't think you do anything different here. You know, it does the whole Homes Ruins thing. I think if I was the Meta Knight player, I'm pretty confident at this point I'm going to win. So my mindset's going to start shifting from how do I win this game to how do I lose this game. And I think accidentally decking out is probably the biggest way that I would possibly lose this game right now. Yeah, I think you got to be really careful with those retrievers too, because there's certain things that you absolutely want. And I think that Metagross Deoxys is one. And our opponent is darn set on knocking it out. So I think I would want to save at least a retriever for that. Everything else, I don't think there's probably the Dragonite line too. Okay. I also don't think you're getting a whole lot out of your Hole in Ruins. I don't even know if I'd be doing it anymore. I think the discarding is hurting you more than the drawing. You basically have everything you want in your hand. Okay. Wait, what? No, that's psychic resistance. You gotta retreat. Yep. You're gonna want to retreat in agility. And I think the hardest thing here is you had to burn 2 reversals for it. And I think, honestly, I think that hurt you a little bit not doing that heavy impact the turn before, but so far so good. Okay, so we do get the 2 prizes off the Rocket Sneasel. Dragtrode player is finally going to get their Dratini in play. I think our energy is going to be their best shot here. Yeah, I think if they miss the knockout here, they're in a lot of trouble. I like the cast form in the deck. I really do think playing some sort of like Holen's Electrode, Holen's Magneton cast form is really, really good. And that didn't really come out till the RS to PK format. But being able to bounce an energy and then like do something like a Rocket's Admin or something to put it back in the deck and then you can get it again for free, I think is so strong. Alright, so he's going to go ahead. Yep, put the Dratini down. Not put the Dratini down. He's debating if he wants to just completely give up on the Dragonite. And I think the problem is I don't think you can win without the Dragonite. Because I don't think you can afford to manually attach 3 energies to a Celios every turn. Okay. Alright. Yep, so I think at this point it's going to become... I think you retreat to the Metagross and then take the knockout. The biggest thing that would concern me is if they could drag something active and just leave it there. Okay, I'm not sure on the agility. I think I would have just retreated and knocked it out. Yeah, I think you retreat, knock it out, put you down to 1. Alright, the Dragonite goes down. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 80, yep. So he did need the Rocket Scyther for that. That was probably in his line of thinking. Okay, it brings up the Metagross. He probably just puts another Dratini down. You just got to discard 2, so this should be a relatively easy discard. Probably just 2 off the Dragonite there. You just want to make sure that you're able to retreat it. That's all you really care about. Man, I would not value that Jirachi that highly. I don't think it's going to matter at this point, but I don't know if I'd value the Jirachi that highly. That Metagross, like, you really, really need that Metagross from Deoxys not to get knocked out. I think we're late enough in the game, though, I don't think it's going to matter. But yeah, I would really be concerned about that Metagross from Deoxys. Two. Yep. Gets a knockout there. Alright. Finds a Dark Energy. Yeah, and I think that's going to go ahead and be the game there. Man, that was a tough one. I think the Metagross player both played that really well, but I think the Metagross player definitely played it a little bit safer in a few spots than maybe I would have. I think I would have just kind of seen like the writing was on the wall and went a little bit harder at it. And I think what got the Dragtrode player in trouble is that first Dragonite got knocked out, and I think from there they just completely abandoned the Dark Dragonite strategy, and I think you're gonna have a hard time winning this matchup if you don't get a decent start from if the Dragtrode player doesn't get a decent start. And I think missing those first 2 energy drops and then not being able to keep a Dark Dragonite in play probably was what pushed him over the edge. But this is a pretty solid matchup from 2006, and it's actually a pretty fun matchup to play as well.